Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar video. This is going to be the last part of my The Dawn of Yangchen Recap series. This is going to be part 4 covering chapters 36 to 41, which is the remainder of the book, and then we'll also do some speculation, kind of open plot points, questions heading into the second book, The Legacy of Yangchen, which is under a month away at this point. But just before we get into the recap, we should probably get up to speed with where we were at the end of part 3 of the recap. So, the big thing that we learned in the chapters just before this was that, okay, unanimity is revealed not to be a kind of physical weapon, but rather a weapon in the form of 3 firebenders with very, very unique abilities. The book hasn't quite told you specifically what exactly that ability is, but if you know your avatar, you know what we're dealing with the 3 unanimity members from the last couple of chapters. But the idea here is that this is Hansha's attempt to quell what is happening in Bin-Er. The explosions have stopped all of the riots, they've stopped the Earth King from being able to come in, and he's now put himself in this kind of siege situation that he's hoping this will give him a chance to negotiate and get what he wants. On the more kind of hero character side of things, Kavik, of course, is home with his parents, and we ended the last chapter basically with Jujinta knocking at his door saying that, hey, everyone is waiting for you, Kavik, confirming that Yangchen has in fact made it to Bin-Er, and we're about to find out how exactly this whole plan orchestrated itself. So let's actually start the recap with chapter 36, The Display. So Zhongdu Hansha is now in control of unanimity and is pretty much the most powerful man in the world because he is in charge of the 3 unanimity members. But the reality of the situation is actually that he's spending most of his time bringing food to these 3 firebenders in their secret positions all across the city. He's doing this because he really doesn't trust anyone else with the information on what unanimity is. So he's just a food delivery man for the most part. The reason for this is because the special technique that the 3 unanimity members employ is so powerful that it requires a lot of food to fuel it. So they need constant, huge amounts of food. So we catch up in chapter 36 with Hansha on bringing food to Thapa, one of the unanimity members. But Thapa spots some movement off in the distance and prepares to use his special technique. Hansha watches closely as Thapa uses his ability. Thapa takes 20 to 30 huge deep inhales and exhales, building up the amount of air he is taking in. He then shoots his head forward as his gut caves in. The sudden trademark pop pop is heard, a rush of air followed by a sudden ball of explosion and a pressure wave off in the distance. And this is our full clarification, detailed explanation that basically tells us that unanimity is a group of 3 combustion benders. So if you hadn't caught on up to this point as to what exactly the benders were doing, this is where we get a detailed enough explanation to for sure absolutely know that it is combustion bending. This is the same ability that Combustion Man from Avatar The Last Airbender and Pali from The Legend of Korra use. So this is the introduction of more than twice as many combustion benders that we ever kind of knew about before. So huge reveal here. So in the aftermath of using his ability, Thapa rubs his forehead, sore from the pressure in his head from using the technique. He has pushed back the Earth King's scout forces on the edges of the city. This is the power of unanimity. Long distance, powerful explosions that from the outside seem to come from nowhere. No one dares enter Bin-Er with such a threat in the air. And that's the key point here. No one knows what unanimity is, so these explosions are just happening. It is so dangerous, no one dares make a move because they'll get exploded. Hansha's plan is to have Thapa, who is the most powerful of the unanimity members pin the Earth King's forces back, while the more precise members, Zhao Yun and Ying Su, are using their explosions to calm the riots in the city and keep the people of Bin under control. Honsha asks Thoppa where his ability came from. Thoppa is tight-lipped, but says that it was the result of hard work and significant investment. He wasn't just given this ability, the training was tortuous, and many who tried to learn the ability drowned. Honsha is stunned by this revelation and really wants to know what he means by drowning. But Thoppa will say no more. Thoppa actually wants to talk about payment. Honsha says that they are being paid well, but Thoppa is now aware that unanimity is the entire reason Honsha has any hope of coming out of this situation on the winning side. Thoppa wants 20 times the original payment. Honsha is in despair. He knows that he has played his hand fully and is forced to agree, even though that amount is utterly impossible to come through on. A desperate Honsha agrees, but wants more from Thoppa. No more holding back. No more warning shots. Time to aim to kill and to show that he means business. He lets Thoppa pick the target to finally do some damage. Thoppa aims for the bigger houses in the Water Tribe district, where Kavik's house is. He begins his breaths. 20, 30, 40. Too many breaths. A problem. Thoppa can't get enough air and becomes dizzy. Honsha notices that he himself is struggling to breathe, as suddenly Thoppa collapses to the ground unconscious. Honsha follows him to the ground, but just before he loses consciousness, he hears footsteps as people enter the room. It is Taegum, Akudan, and Yangchen. He is shocked to see her there, and wonders how she has managed to figure everything out, as well as what did she do to them? Yangchen just says that she has no time to chat. She has more stops to make as the Water Tribe men carry Honsha and Thoppa away. Chapter 37. Kavik was key to the plan working so well. It was all about simple tailing. He had been investigating unanimity prior to Jujinta showing up, and now with Yangchen's information, they did quickly manage to figure out how to track the three members of unanimity. They first found Thoppa at a restaurant with Honsha, and then they followed Honsha to the other two members. Yangchen explains that she will take them down one by herself. First up is Zhao Yun, an instant success. This is followed by the capture of Thoppa that we saw in the last chapter. But the final member, Ying Su, this capture isn't going so well. She has realized that the other two explosion sources have stopped and that likely someone is onto them. So she has set up a strong defensive position, firing at anyone who comes close to her. Yangchen realizes that she needs to act to save Kavik, who is right in range behind cover. She's panicking a bit, but of all people, it is Jujinta who says that it will be all right. He is calm under all of this pressure. She then remembers how she actually came to meet Jujinta. On her way back to Jonduri from Port Tugok, Nujian followed the call of a bison whistle to find Jujinta, who relayed the message for Yangchen to get back to Bin as soon as possible. Jujinta then broke down in tears at her feet. Yangchen plays her part as the legendary avatar well and consoles him, and eventually decides to bring him with her. So she brings Jujinta, Akudan, and Taegum with her to Bin Back in the present, Jujinta is quietly confident as Akudan and Taegum arrive on the scene. They hand a bow to Jujinta. He's cautious, but takes it. Yangchen notes that he's breaking an oath in picking up a bow again. She roughly knows the details of Jujinta and his connection to the Yuyan because of her deep connection to past avatars. A past avatar was apparently familiar with the Yuyan clan. He strings the bow and picks the perfect arrow. He can make the shot. He just needs someone to draw Ying Su out so he can acquire his target. Yangchen approaches Yingsu's position, speaking in a commanding voice as the Avatar. She tries to talk Yingsu down, but soon hears the trademark pop pop and is forced to use airbending assisted speed to avoid the combustion blast. As she does this, she senses an arrow in flight. She makes it to the wall underneath Yingsu's position and prepares to perform the technique that neutralized Thapa and Zhao Yun, a forbidden airbending technique she cannot let anyone else see. She is going to suck all of the air out of the room that Yingsu is in and make her collapse from a lack of air. An invisible and deadly technique if performed without care. Yangchen realizes she has not heard any movement from Yingsu in a while. If Yingsu is hurt from an arrow wound and Yangchen performs the technique, there's a high chance that Yingsu will die. If she walks into the room and Yingsu is fine, Yangchen is probably dead from an up-close explosion. She makes her choice, entering the room, and finds Yingsu in the corner with an arrow in her collarbone. Yingsu is dying from this wound, and Yangchen's technique would have killed her. She gets some snow and then begins to heal Yingsu's wound using waterbending healing. Yingsu thanks Yangchen. Unanimity has been fully neutralized. Chapter 38. Kavik waits in his room for Yangchen to return. She arrives and they nervously begin to talk. They begin with Jujinta, noting that he was a risky recruitment, but Kavik did manage to correctly realize that he could be turned to their side. Yangchen now has a new loyal companion. They then address the hawk that Kavik sent to Yangchen to get her to return. He got her up to speed on what unanimity was, but also included in the letter was an admission that he betrayed her, feeding her the old information to go to Port Tugok. Yangchen notes that he didn't have to include this. He could have kept it a secret, but Kavik wanted to, and he tells her to tell the others about his betrayal also. Yangchen points out just how bad what he did was. Because of him, information is now out there about unanimity. Most won't know many of the true details, but now key players like the Earth King will be interested and trying to figure things out. They are lucky in a way that they are dealing with the likes of Hansha, who is only concerned with money. If the world leaders find out the truth, they are in trouble. Relationships between the nations are in a bad place since the Platinum Affair. This could cause the world to combust. Her trust in Kavik is broken. Even now, she has a part of her that wants to praise him for coming clean on his own, but now she doubts everything he does. What if even this is a manipulation and a lie? She cannot tell him anything that is going to happen with unanimity or Hansha. He is now just one of Yangchen's assets. He is no longer an Avatar companion. Chapter 39. Yangchen attempts an official Avatar visit to Earth King Fei Shan in Ba Sing Se, but she's turned away. Some oddly specific phrases are exchanged as she leaves. Then, later, a disguised Yangchen waits at a wine shop in the middle ring of Ba Sing Se, when a man in laborer's clothing approaches, tapping the counter with 3 fingers. Yangchen does the same. This is Earth King Fei Shan in disguise. This unusual method of meeting was organized by Fei Shan so they could talk in true privacy away from the spy-infested Earth Kingdom Palace. Fei Shan wants to know the details of what happened in Bin-Er. He only has reports of fireballs in the sky and general panic in Bin-Er. Yangchen knows she has to play this carefully. The Earth King is reasonable to a point, but she can't let him know the truth about the 3 combustion benders. But she also has to give him an answer. She explains that the affairs of humans have an impact on the spirits, and that can turn them dark. Bin-Er has reached a boiling point with how bad things were being run. The spirits were angered and have manifested themselves as thunder and fire in the sky. She explains that she has tried to appease them, but has not managed to fully achieve this just yet. She has had help from the monks at the Northern Air Temple. Yangchen is clever here in letting the king know that there are many air nomads in Bin-Er, so any attempt by the king to bulldoze his way into the city and deal with what has happened would look very bad for him, dealing with air nomads like that. Feishan says that he has also lost money and face because of what has happened in Bin-Er. Yangchen takes a risk and straight up tells the king that this is his fault. He let the Shangs mismanage the city. He didn't care about the details so long as he got his money. But things can be fixed, and fixed so much so that he can make more money than ever from Bin-Er. She has the plan to make this happen. Feishan is intrigued, but questions what an air nomad would know about administration. Unlike previous times, Yangchen plays along with this, noting that she knows very little about administration, but that Avatar Zito knows much. Feishan perks up at the mention of the legendary Avatar known for his skills in administration and accounting. He asks if this is possible for a plan to be executed exactly as Zito would have done if he were alive. Can Yangchen get directions from Zito step by step such that she plays effectively no role? She says this is possible, but it is a lie. Yes, she can communicate with her past lives, but they can only give advice from their own perspective and era. They can't form new opinions based on the current era. She can get generic administration advice from Zito, even specifics on things that he did in his own era, but he has no context for what Shang merchants are or what the current political climate in the world is actually like. In reality, if Feishan agrees, Yangchen will use the extra money from the extra shipments being let in and do what she initially wanted Honsha and the Shangs to do, that being splitting the money two ways between Feishan and the people of Bin-Er. This will be how she improves things. She says that if Feishan backs her, she and Honsha can improve things together. Feishan explains that Honsha is nowhere to be found. Yangchen feigns surprise, but reiterates that with the backing of the king, she can improve Bin-Er to everyone's benefit. But she needs him to withdraw his troops. He agrees. She tries to keep the success going by suggesting that the Bin-Er reforms may serve as an example on how to improve the lower ring of Ba Sing Se. Feishan, actually known as one of the best kings when it comes to looking after the poorer people of Ba Sing Se, just says that they will see how it goes. As they move to go their separate ways, Feishan mentions to Yangchen that he will continue his own investigation into what happened in Bin-Er, noting that he received an odd letter from Honsha just before the chaos broke out in Bin-Er, where Honsha came across as if he was an equal to the Earth King. He ends their conversation saying that if it does happen to come to light that it was people and not spirits who caused the explosions in his territory and threatened his rule, he fears what he will do to the four nations in response. Chapter 40. Yangchen is shaken by the Earth King's threat as she makes her way back to the Northern Air Temple on Nujian. She considers the full situation. The truth of unanimity is such dangerous information that she will have to work with the Shangs in Bin-Er to keep that information in check. But it also means that her only evidence against Zhongdu Chai-Si is evidence that she can't use. She cannot act against Chai-Si in any way right now. There is so much she doesn't know, including if the three captured firebenders are the only ones with combustion bending. Yangchen has been forced to do something she hates. She will have to wait and see what happens. She lands at the temple next to Abbot Zonan, who immediately complains that Yangchen has turned her brothers into jailers. Thapa, Yingsu, and Xiaoyun are all in different parts of the temple, each surrounded by 6 airbenders, with strict orders to subdue the combustion benders if they begin the heavy breathing of their technique. She attempts to interrogate Thapa and learn details about his ability, but he, like the other two, refuses to talk about their abilities because of how valuable their information is. Yangchen knows that as time passes, the Earth King, Water Tribe Chief, and Fire Lord will all grow closer to discovering the truth about what happened in Bin-Er. She fears what will happen as they each try to gain control of these firebenders. As Yangchen leaves, the abbot notes his fear about what the monks being forced to become jailers might do to them. They may end up liking the control they have over their prisoners, and it could impact the ideals of the air nomads going forward. Yangchen then goes to where Hansha is being held at the temple. He tries to bargain with her, noting how they both don't have much time until the truth comes out. He wants to give her information on his plant in Chaisi's organization in exchange for being cleared of any wrongdoing. Yangchen is not interested. She already knows about Kalyan. She leaves glad that Kavik's last gift has given her the ability to see Hansha with such a pathetic look on his face. She then heads for Zito's old room at the temple. Tired at everything, she sits down and ponders her future as the Avatar. Should she stop trying so hard? Once she deals with the unanimity crisis and the other Shang cities, should she give up on her philosophy as the Avatar, trying with everything she has to make change happen? She would still be the Avatar, just more like Mama Ayunarak and others would expect her to be. She would deal with problems when they happen, as opposed to preventing them from ever happening in the first place. She would embrace negative Jing more, be less active. It would give her time to search for Jetson. As she leans towards making this decision, Abbot Sunam arrives with news. He tells her that the boy has been found. The woman Yangchen and Kavik healed when they arrived at the hospital all those days ago. Her missing son has been found. He praises Yangchen for not giving up. She and Kavik, saving the woman, allowed them to begin the search for the boy, and now he has been found. This moment has brought Yangchen back from the brink. She will continue on her difficult path as the Avatar. She will visit the boy and his mother tomorrow. She then sleeps peacefully for once. Chapter 41, the final chapter of the book. Kavik walks through a recovering Bin-Er. Thanks to Yangchen and the presence of the air nomads, things are improving at a rapid rate. He notes how beloved Yangchen has become to the people of Bin-Er. She has not come to see him in all this time, and the same goes for Jujinta, Taiyagum, and Akudan. It hurts, but he knows that it is his own fault that he is not an Avatar companion anymore. Kavik suddenly notices that he's being tailed by a man that he can tell is from the Northern Water Tribe. He corners Kavik, who tries to escape via an ice ladder, but the man melts it with his own waterbending. Kavik can tell how skilled the man is and knows that he is done for. Suddenly, the man collapses to the ground as Mama Ayunarak appears behind him, putting her weapon away. She searches the man and confirms that he is a Thin Claw, a scout fiercely loyal to High Chieftain Oyaluk. She knows that this man coming after Kavik means that Oyaluk knows Kavik is connected to the unanimity incident, and the secrets are close to coming to light. Kavik doesn't understand how Ayunarak knows about unanimity. She just says that she and her friends know a great deal, and that it is time Kavik joined them. Kavik, apparently, is going to join the Order of the White Lotus, and that is where the Dawn of Yangchen ends. So, with the recap out of the way, let's just do a quick section covering some of the key questions heading into Yangchen Book 2, The Legacy of Yangchen. So, I'll mainly direct you guys to some videos in just a second, but just really quickly some of the key questions. Will Yangchen find Jetson? We know from the book that Jetson has been trapped in the spirit world. Fog of Lost Souls seems like all but confirmed, but how and when is Yangchen going to find the time to search the spirit world? And, you know, we know she's tried and failed already, so what will actually lead to her succeeding? And how's that all going to work in the context of the book? Kavik's kind of similar plot, I suppose, relates to his brother. Kalyan was really only in one chapter for the most part in this whole book, but he's very important to Kavik's story. He has gone sort of like AWOL basically at the end of this book, but it's clear he's going to play some sort of a role. It feels like Kavik and Kalyan need to have another conversation. So where is Kalyan and what's going on here? Is there hope for Kalyan? And then the other one here, Kavik and Yangchen's friendship. Is there hope for this to be repaired? Because obviously the whole idea of this book, in a way, focusing so much on Yangchen and Kavik, is pointing out that it's about the formation of a new avatar kind of companion dynamic. But it gets broken. It starts out as just being like a business relationship. Then it becomes an actual avatar companion dynamic. But then it breaks apart and is back to being kind of even more business than it was in the first place. So is time going to lead to things healing? How much is it going to take of Kavik to actually regain Yangchen's trust? It will be fascinating to see how this all happens. Then we get into more of the plot related stuff. So unanimity / the combustion benders. We are going to need to get the origin story on this, the full details of the project. Like, are there other combustion benders? What was the whole mention of drowning and stuff like this? We really need to know what's going on there, because we know that like Chai-Si and then Honsha's predecessor Dushim were involved in creating Project Unanimity to a certain degree. So what are the actual origins of that? And especially given that it relates to a special bending like combustion bending, where we know very little about it, but some key details, like for instance, there was no mention of any of the combustion benders having tattoos on their forehead like Combustion Man and Pali have. So are the tattoos going to come into play at some point? Very, very interesting. Speaking of Chai-Si, we do need to know what her ultimate true goals are. She says to Yangchen that she will never go against the rules of the Zongdus that requires them to give up their title after just a few years. But then Honsha seems to know Chai-Si well enough to imply that she has a goal to basically be in power for a very, very long time. She wants to create a dynasty with herself at the kind of heart of it. So what is the truth there overall? And then, of course, the other point here that was specifically referenced right towards the end there with Feishan and then the Water Tribe Chief, of course, coming into play. What happens when the world leaders find out the truth about unanimity? What happens when they find out about combustion bending and seek out the origin of this project, and potentially, like, if they find out that 3 of them are being held at the Northern Air Temple? It's going to put the airbenders at risk and cause a massive issue here, because of course the Platinum Affair means that like water, earth and fire are at complete odds with each other. This is just going to make things worse. So the political situation is terrible. There's still Chai-Si in the background up to no good. And then there's a lot of personal things for Yangchen and Kavik to deal with. So really, really strong setup in all aspects of the book as we head into the next one here. So fascinating stuff. And yeah, I'll just end by directing you guys to 2 previous live streams that I did over the last couple of weeks. The more recent one up at the top here was where I covered the preview chapter that came out for Yangchen Book 2. So there's a live stream where the first segment of it covers that, linked in the description. And then a couple of weeks before that, I did a full Legacy of Yangchen speculation live stream. So if you want more discussion like the last couple of minutes, bringing up questions and key points, definitely check out that live stream where I have relatively up-to-date speculation. Obviously, if you want to do the full thing, you should probably watch the older video first and then the kind of preview chapter and the adjusted analysis. But both of those are linked below if you want more in-depth stuff ahead of the new book. But other than that, as you probably maybe know from my previous coverage of Avatar novels, when Legacy of Yangchen comes out, my hope is to do a spoiler review, a non-spoiler review, probably should have reversed that, but anyway, yeah, non-spoiler first, then spoiler review, and then to get into chapter analysis videos, one for every single chapter of the book. We'll basically be reviewing, discussing the chapter, the book, chapter by chapter. So I'm excited to do that series. I know a lot of people are very excited to see that series actually come out. And especially because there's quite a lot of hype, I think, for the second Yangchen book, because we're expecting some huge things. And the preview chapter was very good. So I think it's being set up quite nicely here. So Yangchen stuff is going to be super exciting as we go into July, of course. But yeah, that will all come out. But other than that, I suppose I'll just say thank you to everyone for following me along with this 4-part recap series for the Dawn of Yangchen. And make sure to stay tuned to the channel for the upcoming content about the new Yangchen book. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.